Hey widget watchers, welcome back to another video. Today we are tackling one of the most fundamental concepts in Flutter development, state management. Specifically, we will explore the differences between stateful and stateless widgets, dive deep into key state management techniques, and figure out which solution works best for different solutions. Whether you are new to Flutter or looking to expand your knowledge, this video is for you. And if you are liking this 30-day Flutter video series, then make sure to like, share and subscribe, and consider supporting us on Patreon or becoming a member on YouTube to get access to exclusive content and private live streams. So before diving into widgets, let's first discuss what state means in Flutter. At its core, state refers to any data that can change during the lifetime of your app. It could be something as simple as the number incrementing when you click on a button, or as complex as maintaining user authentication status. There are mainly two kinds of state in Flutter. First one, we have local state, managed within the widget and doesn't need to be shared across the app. Then we have global state, or let's say app state. So this means that it have shared data that impacts multiple parts of the app. Example, user login status or theme mode. For example, when you press a button and the number on the screen increments, that's the state changing in response to user action. Now let's talk about the stateless widgets. As the name implies, these widgets do not have any state. Once they are created, they are immutable, meaning their appearance and behavior cannot change over time. Stateless widgets are used for static elements, UI that doesn't need to change dynamically. They are simple and efficient. Let's see a stateless widget example. So here I'm creating a stateless widget as my stateless widget. Okay, then call this stateless widget from the my app. Now come inside the build method and from here remove this empty placeholder and here add a center widget. Then for its child, here add a text widget which will say I'm a stateless widget. Now if you save the code and run the application, then you can see in the center we have just this simple text widget. So this widget displays a simple text, and since it's a stateless widget, so it will stay the same throughout the app's life cycle. So when exactly should you use stateless widgets? Well, these are perfect for displaying UI elements that do not change based on user interaction or other dynamic data. There are few examples of that, like static pages, like welcome screen, splash screen or intro screens. Then we have few UI components such as text widgets, icons widget or images that don't change over time. There is only one downside of using stateless widget, obviously. If you need your UI to update dynamically, stateless widget won't cut it. Now let's move on to stateful widgets. Unlike stateless widgets, stateful widgets are dynamic, they can change over time, and stateful widget can update their appearance and behavior based on user interaction or data changes. Let's see a stateful widget by a simple example. So here create a new stateful widget as my stateful widget. Then call this widget from the my app. Then come inside this state class and here create a counter variable and assign its default value to 0. Then come inside the build method and from here remove this empty placeholder and here add a column widget. Then add children, and for its children here add a text widget which will say counter, then $counter. Then here add an elevated button. Now for on pressed, come inside the curly braces and here add set state, and inside the set state increment the counter value by 1. Then for child, add a text widget which will say increment. So here we have a button that increments a counter every time it's pressed. Notice the use of the set state function which tells Flutter to rebuild the widget with the updated counter value. So here I mean that whenever user will press onto this elevated button, then set state will get called and it will increment the counter value so that here our text widget will get updated accordingly. To see this in action, save this file and run the application. Now if you tap onto this button, then you can see our counter value is getting updated every time when we press onto this button. So probably you are thinking that when should you use stateful widgets? So these are ideal for any component or UI element that needs to be updated dynamically. Like for example forms, where the user inputs data, or let's say you have some interactive components such as sliders, counter and toggles, which needs to be updated whenever user tap onto them. Or there are examples of animation like widgets that change over time or in response to user action. So in summary, stateful widget can handle dynamic changes and they are great for interactive components. Now there are few downsides of stateful widgets. First one is the complexity, because stateful widget require more boilerplate code. And then we have efficiency part. Constantly rebuilding can have performance implications if not managed well. Now let's compare the stateless and stateful widgets. Stateless widgets are perfect for static, unchanging UI components. On the other hand, stateful widgets are necessary when you need to react to user input or external data changes. So, feature-wise, stateless widget fixed once while building, and stateful widget can change dynamically. Stateless widgets are highly efficient, while the stateful widgets are slightly less efficient in comparison with the stateless widget. Then, stateless widgets are best for static pages, static text or images, while on the other hand, stateful widgets are good for forms, dynamic UI components. Okay, so as a rule of thumb, always start with stateless widget if you are not sure whether you will need state. Only use stateful widget if you know that the component will need to be dynamic. Now that we have covered the basics of widgets, now let's talk about state management. This is crucial for building scalable apps. In Flutter, state management refers to how you manage and share state across your widget. There are two main types of state. First one, we have local state, managed by the widget itself using set state. It's ideal for small apps or specific parts of larger app. Then we have global state. This is data that needs to be accessed across multiple parts of your app, such as user authentication, themes, or setting. There are several ways to manage state in Flutter. Let's explore a few popular methods. The easiest and most straightforward method for managing state is using the setState function, which is great for small, localized changes. So here you can see an example of simple setState. Here we just need to use this setState function, and inside this we need to add the code which we want to update. But this method becomes inefficient as your app grows. Another way to share state is by using inherited widget. It allows you to propagate state down the widget tree. Here is the simple code example of inherited widget. Let's break down the code step by step, and don't worry if you are not familiar with everything right now. I'll explain these concepts more in future videos. So this line defines a class named myInheritedWidget that extends Flutter inheritedWidget class. So inheritedWidget is used to share data between widgets in the widget tree. Then we have a final int data. So this is a final integer variable data. This means that once it's assigned a value, it cannot be changed. We will use this variable to hold the data we want to share across the widgets. Then we have constructor for the myInheritedWidget, and here we have this data that assigns the value passed into the constructor to the data variable. Then we have child, which is passed to the parent constructor, ensuring that the child widget is part of the widget tree. Then we have this update should notify override. So this method determines if the widgets that depend on myInheritedWidget should rebuild when the state changes. If the new data is different from the old data, the method returns true, signaling that a rebuild is needed. If the data is the same, it returns false. Next we have provider package, which is built on top of inherited widget. It's much easier to use and more scalable for medium to large application. Here is the example of a provider, and now let's break down this code step by step. So here we have a counter class with change notifier. We are creating a class counter that extends or mixes in change notifier. Change notifier is a part of Flutter's state management system and allows the class to notify its listener when the state changes. Then we have a private count variable and we are initializing it with 0. The underscore before count means it is private, meaning it cannot be accessed directly from outside of this class. Then we have getter. So this is the getter method. It allows external code to access the value of underscore count in read-only way. Instead of exposing count directly, we use a getter for better control and encapsulation. Then we have increment method. So this method increases the value of count by 1 every time it's called. After updating count, it calls notify listeners. So this notify listener method is provided by change notifier. When the value of count changes, it notifies any widget or classes that are listening to this change, promoting them to rebuild or react to the new state. In simpler terms, this class manages a counter starting from 0, and every time the increment method is called, it updates the counter and notifies any part of the app that cares about the counter's value. This might feel like a lot to take in, but stay tuned. In future video, I'll dive deeper into each of these concepts like change notifier, getters, and state management. You will get the hang of it in no time. Then finally, let's talk about the block. For larger apps with complex business logic, block is an excellent choice. It separates logic from UI, making apps easier to test and maintain. Here is the simple example of block. Now let's break down this code line by line. So here we have counter block, which extends block, counter event, and int. So this line defines a class counter block which extends block. In simple terms, block is a pattern used in Flutter to manage state using events and state. Here the counter block will handle events of type counter event and produces state that are integers. Then we have constructor of this counter block class. It calls the superclass block, that is constructor, and passes 0 as initial state. So the counter starts at 0. Then we have this map event to state override method. So this method is responsible for handling events and producing new state. It returns a stream of integer value which will emit new states when events are handled. Then we have this condition. So this checks if the event being handled is the increment event. If the event is an increment, we move to next step. Then we have this yield statement. So this line increments the current state by 1 and sends the new state down the stream. When the increment event is detected, it adds 1 to the current state. In essence, this class listens for counter event.increment events and increase the counter state by 1 when the event occurs. If this is your first time seeing block, stream, or async, don't worry. These concepts will become clear as we dive deeper into state management in future videos. Now, to sum up, stateless widgets are perfect for static components, while stateful widgets handle dynamic UI changes. For state management, choose the right technique based on your app's need. Use set state for small apps, provider for medium-sized apps, and block for large complex apps. So this was it for this video. Thanks for watching. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Widget Wisdom.